What's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn, and this is the C3 Podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where we bring you the latest Panther news from the fan perspective. We've got a fantastic show tonight. I'm excited. We're coming off a big 7-0 start. Crazy. It's historic, and we just won on Monday Night Football against the Colts, 29-26, and I'm here to talk about it with some of my favorite people. Joe Riolano, a.k.a. that freaking Puerto Rican. What is up, my man?
Tony has done it again. Tony, we are 7-0 and looking good, man. I mean, looking really, really good. Some of our best players aren't even playing right now on defense, and we're impressive. It is Tuesday night. It is my favorite night of the week, Panther Nation. The Panther fans can let it all hang out. And please use hashtag C3 if you want to add to the show, comment. We will get all the tweets out that we can. And remember that we do this for you because we are fans too.
People are already commenting how tired we all look from the game. We got a special guest tonight, Chris Jenkins, Charlotte Vibe. How's it going? Glad to have you back on the show.
Hey, I'm glad you guys remembered me. We're only halfway through the season, and I finally get the call. But I'm happy to be here.
We know that you are a busy man, so we try to not overwork you to keep you coming back a little bit.
Okay.
Guys, tonight's show, the C3 podcast tonight's show is 7-0 or just lucky, or are we lactose intolerant? That's a cheese bun right there. The C3, this is episode 15.40, and we've got man, it was fun. The Panthers are 7-0, and it's part because they're lucky and a lot because this team is playing to win. We're going to discuss how luck factored into the Panthers' win against the Colts, but also get into what the Panthers actually did do themselves to win. Good defense, capitalizing on opportunities, hard running, and just some big plays at big times. It was a late night for everyone, but we're here to try to figure it out and see what we learned. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and ask you that. Joey, what did you learn about this team last night with the victory, the overtime victory?
Well, one thing I'm assured of now is there's no quit in this team. Those guys on the defensive line were working last night. They were working and working. We're sort of shallow as far as depth goes along the defensive front, and those guys were tired, man. They were having to play in really sloppy conditions. Chris, I'm sure you can expound on that because you were there. It was very nasty, and they kept working, and you could see the fatigue, but despite that, they laid it all out on the line and left it all on the field.
Chris, what did you learn about this team last night in those wet monsoon conditions?
I learned that their true identity is the same of being cardiac cats. No matter who they're playing, no matter where they're playing, they're going to find a way to make you stay in your seat until the fourth quarter in the final minutes and pull the game out. So I learned their identity is strong. Cardiac cats.
Guys, we have to have strong arteries and vessels in our heart for watching that. It just doesn't. They don't want to make it easy for us. Like you said, they want to keep you. It's almost like it's like great showbiz.
Hey, if you could call Jerry Richardson the director of this movie, he'd be an Emmy Award winning.
That's for sure. His ratings are very, very high. I'm sure the Panthers have a very high watch rate when it comes to the entire game.
And, people with, the whole pharmaceutical industry is benefiting from our need from, anxiety medicine. The alcohol and beverage industry is totally winning in this. You're right, if this was an award show, like the Grammys or the Emmys, and I never know which one is which, but they would just take home all the awards for most exciting finish.
Absolutely.
All right.
And don't forget to throw out the conspiracy theories. We could say that the networks are conspiring because they want to get more money from the advertisers, so they can say all these people are glued in the whole time.
Right. That's exactly right. Can always
Yes.
go back to the dollar.
I'm there. In fact, let's go ahead and talk about it, Joe. I'm going to skip over all the pleasantry music tonight. We're just going to get straight into it. What's hot? It was wet. It was early morning victory, a 29-26 overtime victory. It was the epic showdown, guys. It was the Panthers' metaphorical duel at high noon. It was the showdown between Andrew Luck and Cam Newton, the moment we've been waiting for since Cam Newton was drafted, the moment we created all of this, and it rained, and Luck stunk, and then he didn't. What did it live up to the billing of Andrew Luck versus Cam Newton Monday Night Football? I'll let you start with it, Chris.
What didn't? Well, I don't know if there was billing that it would be that great. I think the media early on tried to bill it as, the guy that turned down Carolina, he's coming back. But the real story with Andrew all season has been his injuries and his struggling with decision making. And that's what you saw yesterday. You saw some interceptions. You saw some poor play of handling the ball because it was wet. And you really didn't see anything new from Andrew Luck that you've seen all season. So that's my 2 cents.
Joey, is this media driven? I think it's driven by us. And that is, I have been making this my battle for like years. This was my Bunker Hill, man.
Yeah, this has been, we've been bitter about this for some time.
Yeah, and you know what is ironic about it is it wasn't even a game really of like a showdown between quarterbacks. It was everything but.
Exactly. Chris touched on it. Luck has been not himself this year, to say the least. Most people suspect it is an injury. Cam's Cam, and he's not always, statistically speaking, he's never going to blow you away with his numbers. Well, not every game is he going to blow you away with his numbers. Some of his performances are amazing, but he may not have those really impressive statistics. So this game, everything was much harder because of the playing environment. The field's wet,
Right.
ball's wet.
You got to give him a pass a little bit for that.
Right, everything is much harder. But in the fourth quarter, I think the game lived up to its billing. It was sort of sloppy and ugly through the first 3 quarters, but in the fourth quarter, it really did sort of live up to the hype.
I don't know what to think of what we saw in some cases. I want to address one thing that Chris said is that Andrew Luck hurt this year, poor decision making. There might be an argument that he hasn't ever been the best decision maker. I mean, he's always been known for trying to do a little bit more than necessary at times. I mean, there's a reason. My friend always says this. There's a reason he's always in fourth quarter comebacks, and it might be what he did earlier in the game that got them in that position. He didn't look very good. How did he come out of that funk, guys? Like, I mean, he was it was just ugly for that first half for him. How does he come out of that? I mean, is that just something that he's gotten used to doing?
Well, I think a little bit of it was in that fourth quarter, the Panthers' defensive scheme changed and gave him a totally different ball game to manage, and he succeeded with that. And you saw once they changed it back up again late in overtime, it started to change back to the negative side for Andrew. So I don't think it was so much him as much as it was Sean McDormand changing things, which I don't like. And Tony, you're the host, so I'll let you direct what we talk about. But that's my.
Oh no, well, I want to talk about it. In fact, we'll talk about defense first then, because I was going to talk about Ted Ginn Jr. for a minute.
No, we can't
let's talk about it. Oh, I got to talk about Ted. I got some questions to ask. All right, let's talk about what that defense did differently in the second half. it seems like they started to back off and go more into zone coverage, which that's kind of the Panthers' MO in some ways, I feel like, to play zone defense. What did they do, Chris? What did Sean McDermott do different in the second half that you saw?
I'm going to confess, I was distracted the second half. The repellers were every bit of 15 yards from my view, and I was like a kid just wondering what the heck they were going to do. But when I would glance down at the field, I just saw the coverage. It was different. It was like a lot softer, and I don't know where exactly that came from, but just at a high level, that's what I saw, a lot softer, less aggressive defense.
Do you think that that's a scheme that we had trouble running in some ways because of the lack of pass rush regenerated? Like, that would work if we were getting after Luck, but like Joey said, kind of gassed towards the end. It's Ely out there and Allen. K1 Short was just held every play. Is that really kind of where you have to be on the point of attack to win in that kind of softer coverage?
Yeah. Well, Tony, my feeling is that I probably wouldn't be a good NFL coach because I absolutely hated when teams are playing one way through 3 quarters and then they take their foot off the gas and start playing a different style in the closing moments. So, again, I didn't get a chance to really dissect what they were doing, but I could tell it was a softer defense. You weren't sending any linebackers on blitzes or any stunts like that. It was just kind of fall back and wait and see. And
it's like vanilla.
Yeah, and he picked us apart.
What the hell can you tell us about these people that were hanging from the raft, whatever, those...
Yeah, please.
Tell us, because I don't feel like we got the story watching the television. Like, I think the NFL did a good job of not making it, allowing them to do whatever their protest was on national television.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you caught the Periscope, but I did go to Periscope it. But it was strange, guys, because I won't say immediately, but I would say probably within a minute of them doing it, we saw them hanging because they were right in front of the press box. And so I looked up, and you could see them. Basically, they were up into their necks. You could see them feet dangling. And I look up, and I'm like, okay, it can't be window washers. There's nothing to wash right there.
Why are these window washers in the middle of the football game?
Right. It's just like, and then I'm like, well, there's a digital scoreboard around here that can't be repairing a light during the game. And then about 2 minutes later, you see them further down, and you can see a sign in between them. And everybody in the media boxes started looking around like, what is about to happen? And that's when I took the phone out and started periscoping it and trying to watch the game at the same time. But
what did the sign say?
You sound like everyone on Periscope last night. I'm going to have a short-term memory. I think it said B of A, dump B of A, and then it had maybe that Dominion written diagonally, and down at the bottom it had a web address. But unfortunately, we were behind it, so I didn't get a chance. I have to read backwards to see what it said because we were behind it technically.
I wish they would have hung a Cam Wow out the window when they were doing that, Joey.
I know, that would have been great.
Joey, did they smuggle in this equipment?
I know, that's what I was wondering. How did they
get that? I can't even get a damn bottle of water in Bank of America. How did they get
grappling equipment?
Yeah, so that was a talk of the city for today, and my unofficial, I guess what I say could be official, right? My official take on it is that they must have lied to somebody about what they were doing. I think they would have had to say, hey, we're here to
fix the video board
or something. Like, you had to tell somebody, because I just would imagine that you have at least 3 bags of rope and repelling equipment and harnesses, and in order for you to get through, you got to say something. So I think they tricked somebody. I don't think they had this master plan where they set it out last week and they came back around like in the TV shows or nothing.
Sounds like it. I think
Sounds
Joey
like somebody's
maybe
going to lose their job. Is what is going to happen because they
it's
somebody believed their story, or it was an inside job, and they got somebody in, maybe a disgruntled employee who is upset with Bank of America.
what they did, Joey. This is like Shawshank Redemption, man. You know, they've been working on this, and maybe they used old Jake Delhomme and Steve Smith jerseys and just fashioned them into a bunch of knots and dropped. Right. That's intense, crazy. All right, let's go back to Ely. I thought he played pretty well on defense, and to me, the guy, and since we're talking about defense, Coleman, I feel, had a fantastic game. He was thumping dudes out there. He broke up he broke up a touchdown pass, potential touchdown pass to Fleener in the second quarter. Right after he blasted Luck in the open field. Coleman, I feel like he might be the most important veteran pickup we had this offseason, or at least he playing like it to this point on the defense. Joey, was he the guy that impressed you last night, or was it Ben Whitley?
Yeah, certainly. He had a huge game last night. He showed up in a big way, really laying the wood on some people. Good coverage, breaking up passes, interception. He really, really brought it last night, and I think if he continues playing this way, he's going to earn himself a permanent spot on our roster.
Chris, what's the general sense of Kirk Coleman? They got to be happy with what he's contributed to this team so far.
Well, I'm going to respond from a different angle. I like Kurt because every game he gives me a nice liner off of one question. He's one of the best speakers out there that I like, so I like Kurt. I've been talking to him for a couple of weeks now. But Kurt, honestly, I've been watching him all season because I always go and say, who's number 20? Oh, who's number 20? And, I've honestly been doing that most of the season. And last night, I think introduced a lot more people to who number 20 is. Will now know the 20 is Kurt Coleman because he was all over the place, having his interceptions, getting in the pass deflections and things like that. So he's been playing solid all year. It's just with Josh Norman back there, it's hard to get attention away from him.
Speaking of Josh Norman, let me ask you guys this. As I was hanging one of my buddies every time, and they said this the week before, when he makes these fantastic leaping deflections and stuff like that, is he beat at those moments? Like Harris, my buddy's like, oh, he's beat. And I'm like, nah, that's just how he plays that play. Do you see him when he's making, is this just like him playing at some sort of just catastrophic level or something, or some uber sphere, or is he like this good where he can do this year in and year out and make those types of plays?
Hey Tony,
Is he just hot?
I like the way that you're really trying to figure it out by using the arms and
He's really getting into it.
It's a little both, man.
I think. Go ahead, Chris.
He's actually baiting these quarterbacks. So, is he beat? Visually, technically, yes, he is beat, but he's purposely beat so that the quarterback will take that chance. And then he knows just enough room that he can make up and use those arms in his vertical jump to make a play. And that is exactly his style for playing any deep ball, any go route. That is exactly how he plays them every year. I mean, that's that interception he got, I don't know, week 2.
Yeah.
He didn't jump up way back and stretched and caught that. So
right. I could not. Chris, that is exactly the terminology I was going to use. Baiting the quarterback. And that's what he's doing. He knows he's rising the threshold. He's letting the receiver get open to the point right before he would lose coverage on him. And the quarterback sees that about to happen and thinks, okay, I'm going to lead the guy enough to where, it'll get over Norman and to the receiver. And then right before the ball is released, he starts to make up ground. So that by the time the ball arrives, he arrives as well and can make a play on the ball.
He's kind of playing like when you play Call of Duty, and I like to play Call of Duty and play with sniper rifles and pistols only. It's like playing Bond back in the day, and you would go pistols only. He's like almost challenging himself on every play. It's crazy. It's a cat and mouse game with him almost. I like that. Let's turn to the offense, guys, and talk about what we saw. Cam Newton. Well, first, this is what I saw. I saw the same thing that we see is Ted Ginn Jr. still can't catch. I mean, he just can't catch the ball, and
he catches inconsistently.
He's inconsistent, and it's so inconsistent, Joey. It's getting old to me. Like it's like tiresome that the inconsistency. What sticks out to me most out of all of that, I've come to just know that that's going to happen. Do you think he should have made an effort to break up that interception in the second quarter? Do you remember that play, Joey, where Cam just totally underthrew the ball?
Oh yeah.
It was like Ted Ginn just like watched them catch that interception. Like he didn't do anything.
Right. That was. I thought that was Philly Brown, but that was Ted Ginn. Well, whoever was back there.
Maybe it was. I thought it was Ted Ginn.
Should have.
It was Ted.
Okay. He should have come up and tried to at least break the pass up or make the tackle. You know what I mean? No, he just stood there and watched. Literally watched him make the interception.
I think that's why I was so upset. I'm so upset that really his greatest threat as a player, which is his deep ball speed, is also like his biggest Achilles heel. Like, I mean, it's almost like he has trouble catching the ball when he's running with it. But if he was running at it like a punt, he would be fine.
What do you think, Chris? I know you have to be very careful here. But,
no, you don't. It is that he dropped like 3 deep balls. There's nothing careful about it. He wasn't careful.
I don't want you to lose anyone in the locker room. So if you want to plead the fifth, I'm okay with that.
No, Joey, I don't have to be careful. It's just personally it gets hard because it's almost like it's your kid. It's like, man, I love my kid, and I got to tell him like he really messed up. But on the deep ball, Tony, Ted, I did question like you. Did he make a big enough effort to come back? He could have made a little bit more effort, but I don't know if that would have helped much because he had 2 guys that were short, and he was coming to a stop, and it was 2 or 3 yards still before where he was. So it's not like the typical jump ball that he could have tried to help him out as easily on. But I did have the same question as you.
He just watched it, dude. he was like me. Me and him were in the same place, both watching.
Yeah, but Ted overall, I think it could be one of those focus things, man. It's not like a terrible focus that he has, but he's just like, 3 out of 4, he's just going to forget the focus, going to forget the mechanics, and get too far ahead of himself. But I can tell you, like, does he genuinely want to catch that ball and is, pissed off, et cetera, et cetera?
I'm sure he is. I was mad when I struck out in Little League.
Yeah, I'm sure he beats himself up over it. It's not like he's excited.
Yeah, he's not happy.
That long ball that he dropped, the one late in the game. To me, it looked like he took his eyes off of it. And when they always say, "Look the ball in," and they say that for a reason because you will drop them. And that's all. That's something that some people do. They just, like you said, lose focus, move their eyes, and then the ball gets away.
This guy at work today compared him to that dude in The Replacements that could just run real fast downfield but couldn't catch the ball. I know, it's terrible.
Did you hear who Ron Rivera compared him to today?
No.
Tony, you're gonna love this one. Take one guess. Who does Coach Rivera always talk about when he goes and reminisce? His old team, right?
All right, from the.
Oh, you're talking about.
Who was it, Joey?
He was a Bear.
Another fast receiver that also plays for the. I don't know if you have a bad connection or I do, but I didn't hear you.
Yeah, we
Was
broke
he?
up
Did he
for a
play
second.
for the Bears?
I think
Who
we're
has a
losing
bad
Chris.
connection? Because is it me that you're losing?
I think Joey. Am I going in and out?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
It's Chris. I heard, or I had trouble hearing.
Okay.
Can you hear us
I
now,
think I'm
Chris?
coming back here, guys. Let me try to get hardwired here and see if that helps at all. Tell me if I'm back.
Okay. All right. So tell us, we're dying.
No, it's Willie Galt.
Yeah. Willie Galt, yeah.
Willie Galt. That's who it is. He used
Tell
to
me
play for the
about Willie.
Bears. He was an Olympian, a hurdler, I think. Is that what it was? Or
He
was he?
might have been a hurdler.
Yeah, it was either a hurdler or a 100 guy, one of those.
So tell
That's
us
not
about
crazy,
Willie.
real
though.
quick. Well, real quick, what Rivera said in the press conference today was he was driving to work this morning, and he started thinking about Ted again, and I'm sure he had other thoughts, but the one that he shared with us was that he really does remind him of Willie Galt, really speedy guy, can catch the deep ball, and special teams guy, and we just need to stick with Teddy and support him.
We do need to support him, but we're asking him to do a lot. We're asking him to be the guy, and that's a lot on him. It's a lot on Cam. It's a lot on everyone. Let's talk about some other elements to this offense. One of the things we saw was the offensive line banged up. No Khalil. Norwell goes out. I think Darrell Williams is scheduled to start coming back. Did he play at all last night? I didn't see him.
Again, I'm guilty of not being the best overall looker last night. So
Joey, did you see him?
No, I didn't see him in the game at all.
Okay, so, and we had Chris Scott that started. Velasco was in there. My question, Joey, is that first, I think that offensive line played pretty well given no Khalil, no Norwell. I thought it was okay. But is this going to be a problem?
Well, I don't know. Let me say that I noticed our offensive line was not as good when Scott was in, and it was to the point, it was so bad that the coaches brought in Amini Samatulo. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Chris?
close
Okay.
enough.
They brought Amini in, and he seemed to be playing with some renewed vigor, I guess. So I did like the fact that they brought him in. I would thought the same thing today, Tony. I wondered if Norwell's out for a significant amount of time, how is it going to affect us? Because when we've been running the ball effectively, and it looks to be our best mode of running is running it up the middle with the three guys there, Khalil, Norwell, and Turner, and that really puts a lot of pressure on a defense when you can attack the middle and be successful. So yes, that's something I am concerned about. I did want to ask you, Chris, if you heard any updates on Norwell? Do we know anything about his injury or if he's going to miss any time?
No, I didn't hear anything about that, but I know Darrell Williams, he was active yesterday. I don't know if he played any snaps or not, but he was active.
I don't remember seeing him in the game at all. And I guess the other
I heard
question,
that Norwell was going to be it was a hamstring potentially, so it was kind of one of those things that they're going to have to wait a couple of days before they know if it's
the severity.
like how bad it's going to be.
All right. Another player I wanted to ask you about, Chris, is Funchess. What's going on with Funchess? We have very super high expectations because we were spoiled from Benjamin. But what seems to be holding him up, I guess, is what I'm saying.
I feel like I've talked with the wide receivers all like kind of one-on-one to get a good feel from these guys, and honestly, it seems like everybody wants the ball more. Everybody wants to be involved more, but they say they're playing with whatever the coordinators have played or scheduled for that, dictated for that week. And so they go to say, well, I'm not going to make too big of a fuss about it because we're winning.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think that the coordinators aren't trusting the wide receivers fully, and therefore you're
That's
seeing
understandable.
people's upper. Huh?
That's understandable.
Yeah. So I think from that reason, you're seeing people limited. And I think Ted ends up getting most of the looks outside of Greg. Number one, because he's had success with Cam before.
Mm-hmm.
And out of all those guys, if he does catch the ball, he does present a lot of potential
Mm-hmm.
more so than the other guys.
Agreed. Agreed.
Speaking of Greg Olsen, what the heck is going on? That guy gets caught every time he breaks the rules. Every time he breaks the rules, they are watching him with a microscope. Another big play, this time nullified by Olsen. Some sort of, yeah, or he was blocking before the football was joined. We've got a special guest joining us too from ProFootballSpot.com, Chris Licata. He is the writer for the Green Bay Packers as he's getting set up. I know. His camera is not coming through yet, so we're going to keep going and talking about what we saw. Joey, what the heck is going on with Olsen? Why does he get caught so much?
I think just because he is such a big part of the Panthers offense, he draws attention. And I'm sure the other team coaches are in the ref's ears, just hounding about him holding or picking or so he does get caught. It seems like every time his hand is in the cookie jar, somebody's there to catch him.
All right, Chris, are you able to interact with us?
I am. Joey, Tony, how you doing, guys?
Excellent.
Very good.
Glad to have you back. You're here with Chris Jenkins from CharlotteVibe.com too, who he covers the Carolina Panthers, and we brought you on the show to talk about the Green Bay Packers. What the heck happened? 76 yards, offense or passing? What happened in that with the game Sunday night?
Oh man, well, there's no way around it. No ifs, ands, or buts. They were definitely outcoached, outplayed by a better Broncos team. I mean, that's not the best matchup for the Packers as it is, just due to the way that they love to go through their receivers, and the Broncos corners just absolutely shut them down. So we're hoping to get back on track this week against another undefeated Carolina Panthers team, that's for sure.
Yes, the best 7-0 team right now. That's we're flipping the script.
NFC.
Yeah. I guess coming in to this matchup, Chris, I'll start you with this. What are your kind of things that are on your mind that you think is on the Carolina Panthers' mind, and then I'll start with Chris Jenkins with the Panthers, and then we'll go to the Packers thing going forward against the Green Bay Packers.
Well, their Panthers are clearly have the identity of being a defensive-minded team. So I believe their focus is not going to be so much that we're going to try to outscore the Packers, that it's going to be focusing on shutting down Aaron Rodgers and limiting his opportunities and getting some pressure on him, taking some corners off of what they saw from Denver, and trying to win the game that way. Certainly win the time of possession. Again, wanting to keep the ball out of Aaron's hands as much as possible.
Now we'll turn it over to the other Chris and ask you this. What are the Green Bay Packers thinking coming off that performance coming to Charlotte?
Well, I'll tell you what, from the Panthers' perspective, if there's any time to play the Packers, now is probably the optimal time. They're in somewhat of a funk offensively. And on defense, they didn't have it together last week. So the biggest concern stopping the Panthers is obviously Cam Newton and his ability to run. As we've seen in the past, Colin Kaepernick, the Packers consistently struggle to stop the read option. So that's one big concern, as well as Greg Olsen. The Packers could not defend the middle of the field last week, and it's been one of their Achilles heels going back for some time now. So they have to limit him somehow.
Joey, what do you think about this? The Packers' offense in a funk. Are we getting them at a good time?
That's a good question. It looks like we are, but I know after the embarrassing loss they suffered at home last week, and somebody came into their house and really put it on them. I think they're going to come with a renewed sense of urgency.
That game was in Denver.
No, I thought it was in Green Bay.
Wasn't it in Denver? Didn't they have the big ceremony for the owner and all that?
Yes, it was in Denver.
Oh, my bad. Well, then they want to get off. They want to pull off another. I'm sorry, a big win at Carolina. That's not the Aaron Rodgers we're used to, and we've never seen Aaron Rodgers play that poorly. I think we're catching them at a good time. They're down, they're beat since, they took a loss, and we are on a roll, and I think that's going to be the biggest factor. We're at home, we're on a roll. It's going to be tough for them to slow us down. As long as we keep running the ball, that's what I think. I think running the ball is key for us.
Right. All right. I know Chris Jenkins has got to get out of here in just a moment, so we'll close him out with the kind of couple of last questions. Chris,
can I say something?
Please.
The other Chris is trying to set you guys up by telling you it's a good week to play Green Bay.
Sure.
Okay.
I think it's the worst week to play Green Bay. They just lost their undefeated record. Mm-hmm. They had an extra day to rest. I think, we're starting to get that bullseye on our chest. I don't think it's the best week to play Green Bay. My little 2 cents, but I'll move on, Tony, to your question.
All right. My question to you is, since this is a good and a bad time to play Green Bay, it's a good time because their offense is not clicking as it normally has, or how we've seen it run like a finely tuned machine. It's not there. But to give Denver some credit, that defense was just stifling. My question to you, Chris Jenkins, is Carolina going to have to win this? Is it take a complete game, or is it going to take the defense just playing out? Do we have to replicate what Denver did to win this game? To win. I felt like this is Denver didn't just, completely dominate, even though they only had 76 yards. It wasn't like I felt like the game was out of hand too early for the Packers. Like, even though they were playing terrible, it took 76 yards of offense to beat them. Chris, are we going to have to play that well to beat the Green Bay Packers this week?
Yeah, as Coach Rivera said, their mantra is the same every week, no matter who their opponent is, whether it's the Green Bay Packers or whether it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lean on having the defense just totally shut down the other team's offense, and because our offense is never going to do a lot of points. And whenever our offense does score a lot of points, it's because the defense gave us 30 yards to go for a touchdown. That's how it's been for the last, 2-3 years. So no matter who they play, they have the same dire need for their defense to step up to whatever level necessary to shut down the other team's offense. And I think it's a little bit harder for us with Green Bay because you got such a good passer in Aaron Rodgers that you're going to rely on some of our older guys that honestly I think can make it through an average game with their legs and athletic ability and their wisdom for playing 12 years like Peanut Tillman and the other guys. But it's going to be tough. That's my opinion. I want them to win, but I think it's going to be pretty tough.
Of course.
Okay. All right, Chris, I know you got to get out of here. Tell them where they can find all your your work, and catch your latest Periscope videos, even of protesters.
Even of protesters hanging from the ceiling. So everything is Charlotte Vibe. So whatever you want to be on, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the social medias, everything's at Charlotte Vibe. And I love to talk to the fans and get you guys interviews and questions answered.
You've done a great job. You've gotten some great interviews. I like the one with Ryan Dallaire, and when you asked him about not having a verified Twitter account.
Does he have one yet?
That's a good question. I don't think so. Not that I've seen, and I'll look him up right now. Dallaire, Ryan Dallaire, is he at pretty_Flacco56?
That's him.
That is him.
First of all, everybody go follow him. He has less followers than me.
He needs a few more sacks to get on that radar.
That's right.
That's right. All right, Chris. Thanks a lot, man. We'll be catching up with you.
Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Hey, by any chance, will Chris be in Charlotte this weekend?
No, he will not be.
I was going to look for you, man, to throw a hot dog at you. But thanks for having me on, Tony and Joey. And it's good to meet you, Chris.
Nice
All right, man. The pleasure's ours, Chris. It really is. We appreciate you joining us.
All right, let's turn this discussion over to the Green Bay Packers. Chris Licata, tell us why the heck are the Packers offense struggling so much, or was that just the swarming pass rush that did it to them? Hey, what's going on? Why are they in this funk?
I think they're actually lacking a little bit of creativity, as crazy as it sounds. They're not as talented as they were just a few years ago, and I do think they're struggling to replace Jordy Nelson and that deep presence that he brought to the offense. So I mean, right now they're asking their receivers to win one-on-one matchups, and it's just not happening.
Well, part of it is Jones is also not the player he was a few years ago, and I guess that jumps at you so much more because of Jordy Nelson not being there, and their talent is definitely not what it was a few years back. So I want to ask you this: in that Denver game, Rodgers really looked out of sync. He didn't know what to do on more than one occasion, is what it looked like to me. Like he was kind of uncertain of himself. Would you say that was the case?
Can you repeat the question for me, Joey?
I'm sorry. It looked like Aaron Rodgers was uncertain of himself. Like he was hesitant in what to do. Was he that affected by the pass rush? I've never seen him not be assertive, and that's really what it seemed like to me, that he had lost his assertiveness, his certainty, confidence, whatever you want to call it. That's what I saw. He just didn't have it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think you're onto something there, especially in the second half after they started to get to him in the first half. I think it's a matter of Denver's corners being so elite. They were able to lock up Adams and Jones on the outside as well as Cobb. But I mean, they did a great job of actually containing him in the pocket, not letting him break contain and make big plays as he always does. So I mean, that'll definitely be a goal for the Panthers this week as well.
What is going on with the running game? Why is Lacy just fat? I mean, he looks fat. He looks like. What is going on?
I mean, he's a little banged up himself. He's always had chronic ankle problems, so that could have something to do with it. But I mean, other than that, I don't really know. I have no idea what the problem could be. They're pretty strong up the middle. Two of the league's best guards, and Josh Sitton and T.J. Lang, as well as Lindsley, the center there. But they've got to get it going. They've got to open some play action here for Rodgers deep down the field.
Yeah,
Joey, I heard them say, Joey, they were talking. The media asked Eddie Lacy if being overweight was a problem, and he said it's not a problem until the coaching staff says something to him about it. That's a strange answer, Joey. Like, I'm gonna keep eating and get fat until my wife divorces me.
Right, and he might have heard this. They might just be putting it in a way that's not blunt enough or obvious enough. If the coaches refer to you as fat boy, that might be them saying you need to lose a little weight. Like, hey, fat boy, come here.
Hand me that turkey leg.
Put down that slice of pepperoni pizza. That could definitely be a problem.
He looks like the dude that used to run with Chris Johnson in Tennessee.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. The guy that played at USC, he played at Southern Cal.
Leonard something.
Lindell White.
Yeah. Exactly. He's getting into Lindell White area code. Okay, so we've got @SportsGuy tweets in, and he says one worrying part about the Packers is the Panthers' run defense. Too many times last week the run defense allowed the Colts to pick them apart. So what he's saying is that it seemed like the Panthers' run defense has not been there for the last couple of weeks like it was in the first couple of weeks. Do you think that what they're going to try to do is establish that run game this week, or are they just going to try to get Aaron Rodgers to throw 50 passes?
I don't think you'll see 50 passes out of Rodgers. I think they'll definitely try and establish it early on, as they do a lot of the time. It is a bit concerning that Carolina front seven's pretty beastly. I mean, Luke Kuechly's always around the ball, so I mean, we'll see what happens, but it's been slow going on the ground for the past few weeks.
You know, Joey, Aaron Rodgers, with all the amazing stats he puts up, he doesn't traditionally throw the ball too much.
Right, he does.
Like when you look at like how many attempts he had like 5,000. He'll have 5,000 yards on 200 less attempts or 4,000 yards on than like say Breeze or Brady or somebody. 250 attempts. Do you think that we can, Joey? How important do you feel that the Panthers reestablishing the run defense is going to be for us going in this week?
Oh, I think it's going to be very important. I think we try to take away the run game from the Packers and force them to throw the ball. And I know you're thinking throw the ball. You know, Aaron Rodgers is so efficient. I think that statistic you just mentioned, how much lower his throw count is to get the same number of yards as another quarterback, speaks to his efficiency and the offense's efficiency. So we do need to stop the run to force them to pass so we can pin our ears. And we need to get the lead early, I think. And then we'll be able to force them to throw the ball where we can get pressure on Rodgers and even perhaps make an interception or two. Chris, I want to ask you if you may perhaps be underestimating the Panthers secondary?
Underestimating? No, I don't think so. Josh Norman's absolutely playing out of his mind this year, so I'd look for him to shadow Randall Cobb for a lot of the game. And speaking of Cobb, I think he's still feeling that shoulder injury that he suffered early in the preseason, so he doesn't look right. I mean, I assume Norman's going to be on him taking away Green Bay's best weapon a lot of the time.
I would expect that as well.
We've got people on Twitter. Two people just fired in questions. Both Lynn and Sports Guy asks, are you guys going to avoid Josh Norman? Is Rodgers a guy that is going to try to show that he can beat potentially the guy that's the best corner in the league right in week 8?
Boy, I hope not, because that would be a repeat of the Seattle game we experienced last year when they completely went away from Richard Sherman, and that was a disaster. So I definitely think you'll see.
I think we lost him, Joey.
I think you're. Oh, there he is. Okay.
There he is.
Oh,
broke up for a second.
We lost you for a minute there, Chris.
I don't think they'll be as hesitant to go after the.
Oh, you're going in and out.
You know what the problem is? He's got a CenturyLink. Is that they beat him? The Seattle actually won that game last year with the internet. All right, Joey. Let me ask you, if Chris could come back, he's breaking in up. Maybe I'll have to leave and jump back in. One of the things that I wanted to ask Chris was, how upset was he with the defensive performance that Green Bay put on? It seemed like Peyton Manning had his way with them. Chris, are you back?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Tell us this. It seemed like Peyton Manning looked rejuvenated against you guys in some ways, or at least he had his first successful game of the season. How much of that loss for the Green Bay Packers resulted in their defense not being able to play up to the needed level?
I would say a good amount. The most frustrating thing about that is Green Bay's failure to adjust. They don't like to do that as much as they should. I mean, you saw wide open throws from Manning a lot of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that was due to the fact that the pocket was clean almost the entire night. odd considering the Packers came into that game second in the league in sacks, only behind Denver. So that was definitely a disappointing performance on their part.
Yeah, is that we have, the defense, the Packers defense has played better than expected to this point in the season. And it was kind of that performance that we expected out of the Packers defense this year, I think, from outsiders looking in, is that I would say at all places, when you look at points allowed, the Packers have been really playing pretty well on defense. And that one, Manning looked young. What I'm saying, I felt like this, is Manning looked better than he was. Like, there should have been 3 more passes picked off that were just floating in the air. He didn't look like a surgeon. It was almost like you guys just were flat everywhere on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty fair as well. I mean, he did seem to have a little more oomph on his passes. Maybe it was an extra week in the bye week, but yeah, he had receivers running wide open all over.
Yeah, Joey, somebody tweeted me earlier in the week, or when I was watching the game, and I said, Peyton should have 3 picks right now. If this was Carolina, they would have already picked him and taken it to the house. And somebody tweeted me and said, I think it looks slower than it is because we're used to watching Cam Newton throw the ball.
Could be.
So it was like watching cars go by on 95. That's Peyton Manning, and then watching NASCAR is Cam Newton. Joey, what else do you want to talk about when it comes to the Packers and this upcoming week?
Tony sort of asked if you're. Well, let me ask you this: Randall Cobb is your deep threat, really. If Josh Norman's on him, that leaves you Jones. And how healthy is Adams?
Coming off the bye week, he missed the previous 3 games before the Week 7 bye, I believe, with that ankle injury. So, I mean,
Right.
It's safe to say he's pretty close to 100% at this point. Not all the way back, but in that 90 to 100% area. So I think they're going to get a lot.
He's close, man. He's close to being at his, because he was really valuable to Rodgers last year, and it's hurt not having him in the lineup.
Yeah, he could definitely be the real deal one day, but I think he's close, and they'll definitely target him quite a bit this week.
Okay. Any injured players that'll be coming back this week that you think might make a difference?
Coming back, not necessarily, but there are some big injuries on the defensive side for Green Bay. Sam Shields, their top cover corner, went out with a shoulder injury last week.
I saw that, yeah.
That's not supposed to be too serious, but we'll see as the week goes on. And the other huge one is Clay Matthews. He left that game in the second half with an ankle injury. I guess he rolled it pretty badly. That's also not considered very serious, but it's something you have to monitor as the week goes on.
Right. Okay.
Is Starks also hurt?
Yeah, he's a little banged up, but he's expected to come back and play in this one as well.
Okay, let's ask you this, and we'll close out because we're about done. We're going to close at 10. We still got to do our ice up picks, so we'll get you out of here, Chris. And thank you for your time. Can you tell us what what you think is going to happen? What the outcome of this game is going to be?
I'd say whoever gets up early is going to have the lead hand here. I think it's going to be a race to somewhere in the 24 to 28 point area. I really do. Green Bay has to get on the board early. They have to establish the run early, something they were successful with last year when they took down Carolina.
Right.
I mean, if they get that going early, I like their chances. But other than that, I say Green Bay pulls it out just because they're in a tough part of their schedule right now. Backs could be up against the wall. They're an embarrassing loss last week. They could be out to prove something. So I'll take Green Bay in a close one, 28-24.
28-24. Right now, Green Bay is favored by 2.5, and the over/under is 46.5. So Green Bay slight favorite in this. Moderate. That puts you right about the score you're talking about with 46 points. Is that you're looking at 21 person. If you get the over, it's 27-24.
Right. Right.
that kind of game right there. All right, Chris, tell them where they can find your work at.
You guys can find me on Twitter at ChrisLacata16, as well as ProFootballSpot.com. I do a lot of work for the fantasy football site and the Packers site over there.
Great. Well, we
thank
are
you
very
so much for your
appreciative.
time.
Yeah, we really do appreciate you coming on, making the show, man. We had you on before the season even started for the Roundtable Roundup, and we felt that you did a fantastic job there. And once again, you've done the same here. And we look forward to having you on again in the future, okay?
No problem, guys. Thanks for having this cheesehead on twice in one season.
Yeah, all right. Well, watch out for those flying hot dogs that Chris is chunking.
Right, watch out.
All right. Joey,
All right,
we
buddy.
still got one last segment to do with the show, and we have gone off format tonight in celebration. We've had some great guests. We've had a lot of fun tonight. And, I think what we found out about this show, Joey, and this Carolina Panthers team is that it's a lot easier to do this podcast when we're 7-0 on a 7-game winning streak than it is on an 8-game losing streak.
Yeah, the shows are a lot more fun when we're winning versus using the show as therapy. So,
right.
I will 100% agree with that.
Well, Abby is watching dumb TV instead of watching our fantastically dumb podcast at times. So, Abby, get it together. I just saw that on Twitter. Joey,
don't be like Ted Ginn and lose focus, Abby. Come on, focus. Focus here.
We need some consistency on these deep balls. Go long. And we're not going long tonight. We're closing right on time for once, Joey. I had so much more I wanted to talk about. There's never enough hours in the day. One of the things I think is worthy of note before we do our ice up picks is I think Mike Shula has done a fantastic job with what his play calling this year. Mm-hmm. I am going to say this is that it seems like Shula needs some credit at this point for being good, because we're so easy to say, what the hell, even when he does these weird shovel passes to Greg Olsen. One thing I think that Shula has been this year is a little more aggressive. We saw him going downfield a lot, even with these receivers in the rain. Yeah. And unless that's Cam Newton changing the plays and just saying we're going deep, that shows that he's a little more trusting in Cam Newton, the health of Cam Newton. So that's interesting to me to watch, to see develop. Joey, the one other thing I wanted to ask you about, and I had hoped to ask Chris Jenkins about, is that with our offensive line being banged up, right? Our run game, even though it leads I think it's like number 1 in the NFL right now.
Right, I know it was at the end of last week.
So I saw that when you watch it, Joey, it doesn't look like we should be number 1. And do you know what I mean by that? Is that like basically Cam Newton makes it number 1.
Right. If you just counted running backs and didn't count the quarterback statistics, I don't think it would be.
And when you look at, but when you look at the holes, what Stewart has to do to get a yard at times, he's battling. Like, I don't know. It hasn't been easy for, like it hasn't been Todd Gurley easy.
Right. No, not at all. It has not been that easy. But we have the fire in our belly. We have the desire to keep pounding. That's our mantra, right?
Yeah. At Sports Guy Show says he disagrees. He says last night after the Panthers went 24-7, the offensive play calling became soft. I disagree with that. And the reason is that, there were some times we ran the ball and we just ran up the middle and we do that Shula up the middle thing. But, when you're up that much, you do have to take into account trying to wear that clock down. Mm-hmm. And you have to try to keep them honest. it wasn't working, I think, is one of the problems. When they knew we were going to run, it was difficult to do it. What I do think is I think he's gone downfield a lot this year. I mean, Cam was airing it out in the middle of a monsoon.
He was. He really was.
I thought there was one time that we were it felt like, gosh, I thought that they would have played a different game plan for the conditions, and it seemed like that he wasn't going to let that happen. And that's, I think, the point, Lynn, I'm trying to make is she tweets in and says how much of that was our O-line not opening up the running lanes for Stewart. And when you look at it, it just doesn't look like a dominant attack. I think what it just throws everybody off is that Cam Newton, he has run very efficiently. When he gets the ball and he runs, he's been making some very critical run plays, not just yardage, but they have been at critical moments.
For first downs, touchdowns. Yes, definitely. His runs don't always look fantastic, but the outcome is always important.
It's huge. It's huge.
Right.
And that is, and this is what I'm trying to say is that what I think is we really need to start considering, and I'm not the first person to bring this up, is that how do we properly use Cam Newton? Do we use him to what he can do, or do we try to put him like on a pitch count, Joey, in some ways? Is that he, in I think it was the first quarter, went for maybe the fourth down conversion, maybe second quarter, first half of that game, he's on a first down conversion. He lowers his shoulder, which he should do. He's 250 pounds and he's enormous. But what I mean by this is it worth having a discussion? Do we just try to use him to his full capability, or do we shelter him a little bit more?
I think if you have a thoroughbred, you've got to run him. You don't keep a thoroughbred locked up in the pen. And that's my opinion. I know Cam Newton's value to this offense would truly, if measured, not in statistics, but in on-the-field performance, would make him MVP. Because our offense is not the same without him. He is most valuable player to our offense. So what I say is, you have to keep him as that, because that's what he is. Don't try to change him into something he's not. And he is a runner. So you let him run. And yes, I know what you're saying, Tony. He does take a pounding. But you got to remember, this isn't Tom Brady running the ball we're talking about. This is Cam Newton. This is a big physical man.
And Cam, in defense of like what you're saying too, is that you get hurt playing in the pocket a lot too.
And he's done this for so long. He knows how to fall. He knows how to avoid the big impact hit. Sure, he's going to get hit hard, but he's not going to, take something that's going to knock him out of the game. He's going to go down. You see him go down a lot more than he used to. Remember the first couple of years, he would have like 40 and 50-yard runs? Right. He doesn't do that now. Now he slides. It'll be 10.
He tumbles.
Or he tumbles. Yeah, sometimes he tumbles. So
a lot of people, most people are saying this is Cam is like they're agreeing with you. Run, play him. My thing is this, is that like just because you have an awesome truck doesn't mean you have to go like mudding every day with it. Or like if you're a NASCAR, you don't have to bang against the walls all the time. So I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking long-term, decade. But most people, and this is what at Sports Guys Show is saying, is you play full speed. It's when you take off the gas that people get hurt. Right. But I do think we need to make sure that we're continuing to work with Cam to continue to evolve as that player so that he can continue to have that longevity in his career. He's going to have to continue to adapt as he gets a little bit older in the way he does play full speed. So, other things too going on in Twitter, and I'm trying to get to them real quick before we do our Ice Up Sun picks. People are not happy with complimenting Shula.
Well, I think
Not
he's done. I think he's improved significantly in
yes,
his play calling. I think, and I think part of it is the fact that he trusts Cam more. And speaking of play calling and um, coaches, the Colts cut their offensive coordinator today. They fired him, Pep Hamilton, and they promoted Chudzinski to offensive coordinator. So now he's coaching Andrew Luck, and they have two really good tight ends on that team. And remember what Chudzinski did with Cam when he had Jeremy Shockey and Greg
yeah.
Olsen? So watch out for their offense to start picking things up. That's just my opinion and a side note. Are you
All right.
ready for our step?
Last thing is we got a Twitter question and I just lost it. It went to, this is from @Mick7028, Riot Mickham. And he says, before you end the show, he wants your thoughts on Kevin Norwood, wide receiver. That's, what is there to say? We have no idea.
Yeah, we really don't know. We heard how good his hands were, I think, when we made the move for him. But only thing I can guess is he must be having a difficult time picking up the offense. That's the only thing I can think of because he's got some size, he's got some speed, supposedly good hands. You would think you'd want a guy like that on the field unless he's not familiar enough with the offense and the coaches can't trust him.
I think the story about Norwood has less to do with Norwood and more about our coaching staff's kind of style. And we've seen them throughout time be hesitant, and they don't give guys responsibility it seems like it takes a lot to win over these guys' trust. Our coaching staff is conservative in that. You see that kind of from Ron Rivera, how he's good at coaching up young players, but he doesn't talk them up too early. They were hard on, they've been very hard on Ely. They were hard on Turner. And those are guys that have like real pedigree to them in cases. So I think with Norwood, what we just see is they're going to trot Burson out just because they know him. Rather than, if you're going to make a decision, it's something to do with the comfort level and trust. And you can see this too in the way that they handle the running backs, is that this has been historically a coaching staff that tends to just say, let's stick with our vets who we think are better, maybe not better athletically, but game time, or game scenario. You see that Roman Harper, you see, they lean towards that. I don't know, Lynn, if I could say I don't think he lost his shot because of that one interception. I think this is that they just decided to stick with the guys that they were more familiar with. All right, Joey, I know it's the end and you got to run too. Let's get and hit up our ice up picks of the week. Do you want me to go first or you up?
No, I'll go ahead and go first if you're fine with that.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have anything prepared this week, so forgive me. It's been a crazy day for both of us. But my ice up pick goes to Benjamin Golden. Who's Benjamin Golden? Benjamin Golden is a Taco Bell executive. This guy lives in California, and he went out and he got hammered. He didn't want to drive, which is a smart move, by the way. Remember, folks, you don't want to drink and drive. Called Uber. Uber driver comes to pick him up. He gets in the car, and the Uber driver is trying to get Mr. Golden to communicate to him where he would like to go. Mr. Golden is so inebriated that he is not able to clearly give directions. So the Uber driver, after many attempts to get directions, says, "I've had enough," pulls over and asks Mr. Golden to get out of the car. Well, and I guess an alcoholic rage, for lack of a better term, Mr. Golden proceeds to beat the living heck out of the cab driver. Poor guy. So the cab driver, as he's getting beat, manages to reach into his pocket and pull out a can of pepper spray. So he does spray Mr. Golden and get someone to call the police for him. Meanwhile, the police arrive, and Mr. Golden is laying on the ground, throwing up all over himself with the pepper spray in his face, and has caused him just some issues. Well, karma is a you-know-what, because today Mr. Golden was let go by his company, Taco Bell. He worked for the parent company called Yum Foods, and he now is joining the ranks of the unemployed because of his drunken rage. So I want to say, don't drink and beat up Uber drivers, because it can cost you your job. So, Mr. Golden, I say to you, ice up, son.
Okay, so there's a sentiment that I'm a little angry or I'm a little mad this week, as people have asked on Twitter. And I said, no, I'm not mad. I'm just not drinking. So I guess drinking makes me happy. I have like the reverse Goldman syndrome. So I don't beat people up and lose my job when I drink. I drink and then make a podcast and be happy. Okay. My ice up pick of the week goes to Twitter. I don't have a good. I wanted to go something more serious. Actually, this is very serious to me. Suddenly today, I opened up my Twitter app. I think it was today, not last night. I think it was today. And they have changed. They have gone away from favorites, the star when you favorite something, and now they have gone to likes. And it's this stupid little heart. Now, I had to say, I don't want to be too stupid about this, because on our website, we have a like feature too, that it comes built in with our, like the people that host our website. So it's just a little feature, and you hit it and these little hearts kind of fly up real quick. Nobody really uses it though. I don't like this. I don't like it, Joey. I don't like it. I did not.
Why not?
Because what's wrong with favorites? I like the favorites. I like the star. It seemed just different, and not different as in we all knew what it meant. Right. The idea is why are we all, is this like, it seems a little Facebook-y, the like thing, like us on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then the little heart is like my Twitter, I'm watching my Twitter feed right now. There's hearts everywhere. Right. And it's just not, I don't know. It's just not for me. I am obviously, I'm not going to abandon Twitter. Obviously, I love it. It's one of my favorite things in the world. But to you, Twitter likes in your heart, I unlike you, unfavorite you, and I would unfollow you if I could, but it's built in. So ice up, son. Joey, this is the C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. One thing we have not done a good job this week is talk about all the cool crap we got. One of those is the three-peat shirt that we printed for this season before a single snap was taken. We believed in this team. That's why we made them. When you go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and buy one, that shows you know it's going to happen, right? And you believe that this is now a reality. Each week, you're a little less cool if you haven't bought one yet, because you're playing the odds a little bit. You're waiting.
That's right. I say, folks, venture on out there.
Go ahead and get that T-shirt. Another thing, just as a tip of the cap, Joey, I've been getting Todd Gurley Man orders in lately. Not surprising. Another one ahead of the curve. Doesn't have to do with the Panthers. We believed in it. Joey, what else you got going on? And we'll jump on out of here.
All right, Panther fans. Tomorrow night, it is another episode of Southbound and Down. That is the premier NFC South podcast. We're going to be talking about all the events from the teams in the NFC South over the past week. We're going to really hit that Bucks-Falcons game, because that was a great game. And again, Panther fans in the Charleston area, you can join the Panther Watch Party in Mount Pleasant at RB Seafood on Shem Creek. And in North Charleston, Panther fans get together with us at Southside 17 at Tanger. for all your Panther lunch parties.
Joey, I'm going to be anxiously tuning in to Southbound and Down because I want to hear all about it. I picked the Bucks to beat the Falcons. That's right. Me and Clip both did it on Pirate Radio, so we're happy and excited. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We love the guests. We love the questions. We're family. That's what we are at C3. We're a family of fans, and this is by fans for fans. We do it. We're just one of you. So thanks for participating in the show. We loved it. We love the support. And guess what, folks? We're going to be back here next Tuesday, 10 p.m., talking Panthers from the fan perspective. Because just like this football team, the C3 podcast just keeps pounding. Thanks a lot, and good night.
Good night.